Morning arrived quietly in Vellora. Not with urgency, not with answers, but with a stillness that felt intentional. The wind moved gently through the streets, brushing against shutters and doorways, as if checking who had stayed and who had not. Arman woke before the light fully entered the room. For the first time since arriving in Vellora, he did not reach for his bag. He did not check the time. He did not think about departure schedules or unfinished searches. He simply lay there, listening. Arman sits on the edge of the bed, morning light falling across his face. His expression is calm but thoughtful. The choice he made the night before still lingered in the air. He had stayed. Not because the mystery was solved. Not because the past had loosened its grip. But because leaving now would have felt like running. He stood and crossed to the window. Vellora stretched beneath him, unchanged yet somehow different. Or maybe it was him. Looking down onto the cobblestone street below. Lina walks slowly, wrapped in a shawl, unaware she's being watched. Below, Lina walked through the quiet street. She hadn't slept much either. Her thoughts had kept her awake. Memories, questions, moments she wasn't ready to name. She stopped near the old fountain and rested her hand against the stone edge. As if grounding herself. Lina stands by the fountain, eyes closed briefly, breathing in the morning air. She felt it too. That subtle shift. Like the village itself had turned a page overnight. And though she didn't know why yet, she sensed that today would ask something of them both. Her journal rests in her bag. The corner of a folded letter peeks out. The letter she'd found days ago had not left her mind. It wasn't just the words. It was the timing. Every sign in Vellora appeared only when someone was ready to receive it. Arman steps out of the guest house. The square is nearly empty. Arman stepped into the square. And for a moment he hesitated. Not out of fear, but anticipation. Because something told him this was no longer just his journey. They spot one another across the square. No words yet. Just recognition. Their eyes met. No surprise. No hesitation. Just the quiet acknowledgement of two people walking parallel paths. Finally aware of it. They didn't rush. They didn't smile. They simply closed the distance. Side by side, footsteps in sync along the cobblestones. "Did you sleep?" Lina asked softly. "A little," Arman replied. "Enough." She nodded. Sometimes that was all one could hope for. They walked without destination. Without urgency. Letting the village guide them. Leaves rustle gently. Sunlight filters through branches. The wind passed through the trees again. Not loud. Not demanding. Just present. And for the first time Arman understood something clearly. Vellora didn't give answers. It offered moments. Moments where people decided who they wanted to be next. A subtle smile forms. Small, genuine. This was one of those moments. And it was only the beginning. A winding path disappears between buildings and trees. Some journeys begin with arrival. Others with loss. But the most important ones begin with staying. And on this morning in Vellora, two lives quietly stepped into the next chapter. Late morning. The outskirts of Vellora. An old stone path leads toward the hills, where the village meets silence. A winding stone path curves upward into the hills beyond Vellora. The village fades behind them. The path beyond the village was rarely traveled. Not because it was forbidden, but because it led nowhere obvious. No inns, no markets, no views worth postcards, only stone, wind, and memory. Arman and Lina walked in silence at first, letting the rhythm of their steps set the pace. The farther they went, the quieter the world became. "This path," Lina said at last. "Most people don't know why it exists." Arman glanced at her. "But you do." She nodded. "My grandmother used to bring me here," she continued. "She said the village keeps its deepest truths where no one thinks to look." A young Lina walks hand in hand with her grandmother along the same path. Arman felt the words settle somewhere deep. He had spent years chasing truths hidden in plain sight. Letters, ruins, forgotten names. But this was different. This wasn't about discovery. It was about listening. His boots stepped carefully over ancient stones, worn smooth by time. The stones beneath their feet had carried generations, some searching, some returning, some never leaving at all. And as Arman walked, a strange sensation stirred, like recognition without memory. An old, half-buried stone marker stands beside the path, symbols barely visible. Lina stopped suddenly. "That's it," she said. Arman followed her gaze. The marker was unremarkable to an untrained eye. But to someone who'd spent years studying forgotten histories, it was unmistakable. Faded symbols form a pattern. Familiar, deliberate. "These symbols," Arman whispered. "I've seen them before." Lina turned sharply. "Where?" "In letters," he said. "In fragments. In stories that were never finished." His voice faltered. "Not here. Somewhere else." Lina and Arman face each other, realization dawning. For the first time, the mystery stopped being theoretical. Had roots. And those roots led through Vellora. Tall grass ripples as a stronger gust passes through. The wind rose suddenly, sharper now, as if reacting to the truth being spoken aloud. Lina stepped closer to the marker and brushed away dirt from its base. Something metallic glinted beneath the soil. Her fingers uncover a small metal emblem half buried in the earth. Arman's breath caught. The emblem was simple, but unmistakable. A weathered emblem etched with the same symbol as the letters Arman carried. "This shouldn't be here," Arman said quietly. "But it is," Lina replied. And in that exchange, something unspoken passed between them. The past wasn't just remembered. It was waiting. Shadows race across the hills as clouds thicken. The sky darkened slightly, not with storm, but with warning. Whatever lay ahead would not reveal itself easily. And Vellora was only the beginning. Arman and Lina stand side by side, looking down the path that continues beyond the marker. Some paths are forgotten for a reason. Others wait until the right people walk them together. And now that there was no turning back. Early afternoon. The hills beyond the stone marker. The path narrows, winding into rugged terrain dotted with old ruins and weather-worn trees. Beyond the marker the land changed. The stones grew uneven, the wind sharpened, and the silence no longer felt empty, felt observant. Arman and Lina moved carefully now, each step deliberate, as though the hills themselves were listening. "Did your grandmother ever come past the marker?" Arman asked. Lina shook her head slowly. "She always stopped there," she said. "She told me some truths aren't meant to be carried all at once." Arman absorbed that. Some truths, he knew, demanded a cost. Ahead, an old stone arch rises from the earth, half collapsed. The arch stood like a question unanswered. Its stones bore the same markings as the emblem. Not decorative, directional. His eyes narrow as recognition deepens. "This wasn't just a marker," Arman said. "It was a boundary." Lina stopped walking. "A boundary to what?" Arman hesitated. "To something people didn't want found." They stand still, wind tugging at their clothes. For the first time, Lina felt fear edge into curiosity. Not fear of danger, fear of meaning. From behind a tree, the path is visible, unseen eyes watching. They didn't notice it. The slight movement, the shift of shadow where no shadow should be. But the hills had not been empty for a long time. Lina pauses suddenly, hand lifting. "Did you hear that?" The wind answered first. Then a silence. Too complete. Arman listened harder. "No," he said carefully. "But I feel it." Her fingers tighten around the metal emblem. The emblem felt warmer now, as if it recognized where it had been returned. They approach the arch. Light breaks through its cracked stones. Under the arch the air changed. Heavier, older. Arman stepped beneath it first. The arch looms above Arman, emphasizing scale and weight of history. "This place," he said quietly, was meant to be remembered, then erased. Lina followed him beneath the arch. And yet, she replied, it survived. Faint lines etched into the ground form a circular pattern. Not erased, hidden. A bird bursts from nearby rocks, startling them. Lina gasped. Arman instinctively stepped closer to her. Not to shield, to steady. They stand close now, tension and trust intertwined. Neither mentioned how natural it felt. How right. Even here. Even now. Beyond the arch, the path divides into two directions. Two paths. Neither marked. Neither forgiving. Lina looked from one to the other. Which way? She asked. Arman stared ahead. The weight of countless unfinished stories pressing in. The one they didn't want us to take. They step forward together toward the darker path. Some choices are made with knowledge. Others, with courage. And once made, they echo far beyond the moment. Late afternoon. The darker path beyond the ruined arch. The hills close in, trees growing taller and denser. Light filters in fractured beams. The darker path swallowed sound. Footsteps felt louder. Breaths felt closer. And every turn carried the weight of something waiting. Her eyes scanned the surroundings, alert but steady. Fear did not stop Lina. It sharpened her. A boot print pressed into damp soil. They were not the first. And they were not alone. He examines the print carefully. Recent, Arman murmured. Someone walks this path often. Lina's grip tightened on the emblem. Then why hide it? She asked. The trees part to reveal a stone structure embedded into the hillside. The answer rose from the earth. A structure half swallowed by time. Stone fitted too precisely to be natural. Too deliberately to be forgotten. They move toward the structure. It looms larger. This was sealed on purpose, Arman said. From whom? Lina whispered. From everyone. The same emblem carved deeply into the stone door. The emblem in Lina's hand pulsed. Not magically. Meaningfully. Lina holds the emblem up to the carving. The match was perfect. History did not whisper. Confirmed. The stone door shifts slightly, releasing dust. The door did not open. It acknowledged, as if deciding. A mix of awe and realization. My grandmother knew, Lina said softly. She protected this. Arman nodded. And paid the price for keeping it hidden. A twig snaps sharply behind them. This time the sound was real. They turned together, alert. From the trees a figure moved. Not hiding. Watching. Only a silhouette is visible between trees. The watcher had become a witness. And witnesses rarely stayed silent. Arman steps subtly in front of Lina. Stay close, he said. Not commanding. Caring. The stone structure behind them, the figure ahead, the path closing in. What was hidden had been found. What was buried had awakened. Now. So had those who wanted it buried forever. Early dusk. The forest grows dim. The hidden stone structure fades into shadow behind Arman and Lina. The air feels heavier, charged. The shadowed figure steps partially into the open, still keeping distance. The figure did not rush them. That was the most unsettling part. Only part of the face is visible. Weathered. Controlled. Turn back, the stranger said calmly. This place does not forgive curiosity. Her fear steadies into resolve. Lina did not retreat. Some truths, once found, refuse to be ignored. Arman stands beside her, not ahead, equal. We're not here to steal, Arman said. We're here because someone tried to erase history. A brief flicker of recognition. The words landed. Harder than expected. The carved emblem barely visible in shadow. You don't understand, the stranger said. Some doors are sealed for a reason. She holds it firmly now. My grandmother protected this, Lina replied. She believed truth outlives fear. Not threatening. Cautious. You're already in danger, he said. Others are watching. Others who won't warn you. A type. As calculating. Then help us, Arman said quietly. Or step aside. Silence stretches. Leaves rustle. The forest seemed to listen. He looks toward the hills. By tomorrow, he said, this path won't be empty anymore. The stranger fades back into the trees. And just like that, he was gone. Lina exhales slowly. Do you believe him? Lina asked. Arman nodded. I believe he's afraid. Faint smile of courage. Fear meant truth mattered. They walk away from the structure, not fleeing but preparing. The warning had been given. The choice had been made. And now, the wind no longer asked them to turn back. Pushed them forward. Morning in Vellora. The mist is thinner today. The village feels awake and watchful. Vellora woke quietly. But it was not the peaceful quiet Arman had come to know. It was the kind that listened. Arman and Lina walked down the cobblestone street. They felt it immediately, the shift. Windows closed a little too quickly. Conversations paused a little too suddenly. The village was aware now. An older villager watches from a doorway. Vellora remembered many things. And it guarded some of them fiercely. She senses the stairs but keeps walking. Lina straightened her shoulders. Fear had lived in her once. No longer ruled her. His eyes scanned the street, protective. Arman noticed everything. Every whisper. Every pause. This wasn't coincidence. A small group has gathered. By the time they reached the square, the silence had shape. And a voice. The elder steps forward. You've been asking questions, he said. Questions that disturb old ground. Arman and Lina stand side by side. We're not here to accuse, Lina said gently. We're here to understand. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Understanding, it seemed, was more dangerous than accusation. His voice lowers. Some truths, he said, are buried to protect the living. Young villagers decades ago sealing the stone structure. Years earlier, fear had walked these streets openly. And fear always demanded silence. Emotion in her eyes. My grandmother believed silence was the real danger, Lina said. She stayed so others wouldn't have to. Some faces soften. The wind stirred again. Not angry. Curious. A younger man steps forward. If the past matters, he said, then maybe we should hear it. The square holds its breath. Not everyone agreed. But agreement was no longer required. Only honesty. Quiet nod. We'll leave if asked, Arman said. But not before the truth has a voice. After a long pause, he steps aside. Path was not cleared. But it was no longer blocked. Arman and Lina walk away as villagers watch. Vellora had begun to choose. And once a village starts listening, the truth can no longer be stopped. Late evening. The sky over Vellora darkens earlier than expected. Clouds gather low over the mountains. The village lights flicker to life one by one. Dark clouds roll over the village rooftops. The wind returned before nightfall. Stronger. Restless. As if Vellora itself was unsettled by the choice it had made. Arman and Lina walked quickly through a narrow lane. Neither of them spoke. Words felt too fragile for what followed truth. She glances back instinctively. That was when Lina felt it. The unmistakable sense of being followed. A shadow moves at the far end of the lane. Not the forest stranger. Someone else. Someone less patient. He subtly slows, placing himself closer to Lina. Arman felt it too. And this time he did not doubt it. A stone skids across the cobblestones. The warning was not spoken. 'Twas thrown. Two figures step into the light ahead. They did not hide their presence. Fear works best when it announces itself. Her breath catches, but she stands firm. This isn't your story, one of them said. You were told to stop. His voice is calm, unwavering. We're not the ones who started it, Arman replied. But we won't be the ones who bury it. One figure steps closer, threatening. That was the moment restraint cracked. A shove. Not violent but deliberate. Not enough to harm. Enough to warn. Her voice cuts through the tension. If you silence us, she said, you prove we're right. The figures hesitate. Truth has a way of disarming fear. Even briefly, one figure steps back. "This ends tonight," he warned. "Or it won't end well." The figures retreat into darkness. The threat lingered longer than their footsteps. Arman checks Lina, not asking, just seeing. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She nodded. "I'm not afraid anymore." Their hands briefly clasp. The danger had changed something. It had drawn a line. They continue walking, slower now, steadier. This was no longer about uncovering the past. It was about protecting the future. And Vellora would not remain silent tonight. Late night. The wind has softened. The village is quiet again, not asleep but listening. Moonlight drapes the rooftops of Vellora. After fear passed through Vellora, silence returned. But it was no longer empty. It was full of things waiting to be spoken. Arman and Lina walked toward the old stone building. They did not discuss it. They both knew where they were going. Arman's hand pushes the door open. Some doors resist. This one had been waiting. The chamber reveals stone walls and sealed crates. The room smelled of age, of memory, of things hidden carefully, not carelessly. She notices carved symbols. "These aren't warnings," Lina whispered. "They're apologies." Arman opens an old crate. Inside were documents, letters. A life paused mid-sentence. A familiar photograph appears. Arman recognized it instantly. Not because he had seen it before, but because he had been looking for it his entire life. His breath trembles. His brother had been here. Not lost. Protected. Younger villagers escorting an injured man. The truth had never been simple. Had been human. She reads a letter aloud softly. "They hit him," she said. "Not from danger, but from blame." A line is underlined. "The wind will carry the truth when the village is ready." Arman closes his eyes. The storm inside him finally slowed. Not because everything was answered, but because nothing was lost. Lina places the letter back carefully. Some truths don't ask for noise. They ask for care. They step outside. The wind moves gently. Vellora exhaled. She looks toward the mountains. "This story doesn't end here," she said. "No," Arman replied. "It begins honestly." They stand side by side against the horizon. The wind did not whisper this time. It listened. The village sleeps changed. Vellora had kept its secret. Until it learned how to let it go.